Welcome to this week's episode of Listen to Your Coaches. I'm your coach, Mike Wilkins, here with Coach Will Morrill. This week, we're going to dive into some current event related things. We're going to touch on a couple of fights that happened this past weekend, including one of our own, Will Moriarty. We'll talk a little bit about last week where some members of the fight team took a little trip to do some cross training in New York, New Jersey, and Philadelphia. We'll dive into that. But we're going to start off with a very recent fight, a fight that happened just as of time of recording, just yesterday morning. Today is Monday, the January the 29th, and this was a one championship flyweight kickboxing championship fight.
Oh, their weights are screwy. So.
It's flyweight. It was kickboxing, right?
It was kickboxing, yes.
Yeah, championship fight, which aired locally live Sunday morning. So, hey, this sounds like it's right up your alley, Will.
Right up my alley.
Why don't you go ahead and take us through what you want to talk about that Superlek fight.
Perfect. So let's set the scene. So first off, Superlek was defending his kickboxing, his 1FC kickboxing title against a Japanese guy named Takeru, who is I believe, 3-weight class. I think the only 3-weight class K1 champion, and is widely regarded to be like one of the greats of this era. I think from like 2016 till 2022, I believe, his only loss was to Tenshin Nasukawa, who's obviously...
Oh, so they did fight each other?
They did fight, yeah. And Tenshin won that. But obviously that guy's a beast. So, like, this dude is a monster. So he gets signed by one, and then he's going to go and fight Superlek for the championship. So that's what we found ourselves in. Mike and I just watched this fight. I didn't get a chance to see it live, so like this is fresh on the brain. And boy, was I impressed with Superlek.
Yeah, we're like 10 minutes removed from it, from turning it off.
So like one of the things that I saw about that fight and people talking about is Superlek the best striker in the world right now? And I gotta say, maybe it's just recency bias after just seeing this fight. And also, like, I'm a big Superlek fan. He's been to the gym, for seminars. Like, I really like Superlek. But yeah, I think he is the best striker in the world right now. So, like, well, let's start with the fight itself. Let's dive into it. Okay, so round one, right? And this is a 5-rounder. A lot of times ties are known for, like, taking the first 2 rounds kind of, like, off, taking it easy. Superlek did not do that. He got after it. He started
now, is that due to Superlek or is that due to
Takeru?
Traditional Thai, taking the first 2 rounds, kind of like
if they're both playing that game,
they're both playing the game. But if one elects to not play the game, the other has to answer.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't not play if someone's firing down.
That's a good question, actually.
So, like, would Superlek have kept it traditional?
Right. If it was perhaps one, a Muay Thai fight, or 2, like, in a stadium and not in one. That's a good question. I don't know, actually.
I prefer the way that it went down.
Oh, definitely. That was super exciting. I don't know, man. It's a little column A, a little column B, probably. But that's a good way to think about it. Because, like, he didn't really have the option. Of
you have to answer.
Yeah, for sure. And answer he did. So, like,
sure did.
First round is Superlek. Just sticking jabs. And what's cool about Superlek's jab, it's kind of an educated jab, not in the way that, like, some Thais don't have great, like hand boxing, what I mean? Because they don't necessarily have to, right? You've got kicks at kick range and you got clinch on the inside, but this is a kickboxing fight. So, like,
no clinch.
No clinch. So you have to be able to punch. And Superlek has a really good jab where, 1, he can stick it. 2, he can just, like, occupy space with it, right? And use it as a setup or a measuring stick, or like what he uses it in different ways, which is really impressive. And it's also not just one jab at a time, just like jab, oh, now I throw a kick or whatever. Like, he'll single jab, feint jab, jab and then feint. Like, he's got a really good jab game, right? Which is, like, more complex than just throwing a jab. So I thought that was immediately apparent, is that he gave a reason for Takeru not to just, like, get through his space. And then obviously we got to talk about the low kicks. Starting in round 1, just crushing low kicks. Down. Another thing that became apparent to me, about his low kicks early in the fight, was he wasn't just setting them up the same way. Like, I've seen some people, like, on Instagram talking about, like, oh, he sticks, like, his jab into his low kick, and sometimes he does, but sometimes he'll feint and then hit the low kick, right?
Yeah.
Whether he's feinting up high and bringing Takeru's attention high, or he'll feint low, get the check, and he'll either wait for it to come down and then hit the leg, or he'll get it at the top position, and if it's not angled out, he'll just take the outside of the knee or the calf.
Right.
And he just got right to it after that leg from the beginning using multiple setup methods. He'd also drive him back, get, Takeru moving, and while he's moving, he's not able to check. Exactly, crush that leg some more. So like he was getting to the leg heavy, often early in this fight. And then obviously I had that first round, 10-9 for Superlek.
Right. So on the line of like, landing that right leg kick, I noticed there was like, he was like throwing like off speed pitches with it as well.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you were to like, put like a stopwatch or like a like baseball, right? Using like baseball analogies here, right? Like, you're tracking that fastball and it's coming in at 93, and then all of a sudden he was throw like a change up and that kick would come in at like 70, right? Like, you know what I mean? It would still have that like on it, but like it would like float its way into the pocket. And when I brought that up, you made the mention of, like depending on the placement of like the check, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if the opponent's kind of getting the timing on it, you change the timing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that was a really good thing that you noticed, because and same thing, he wasn't just doing it like as its own kick and then throw a slower kick.
Right.
It was still combined in other types of setups. So it's like we're taking multiple setup methods or methods like you're talking about, like changing speeds to get to that leg and smushing them together. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that is just so high level. You know? And like,
I mean, that's what the best in the world would do, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
So, and I, assume we both had 10-9 Superlek first round.
I had that 1-0 Superlek. Yeah.
So second round, we're seeing a lot of the same. Another thing that we're seeing early on and throughout the whole fight is Superlek lands, and then instead of hanging out and allowing Takeru to have his turn, he either manipulates his position or he'll stick a teep. Right? And that just shuts down everything Takeru can do. So that way it's his turn again. And not that Takeru didn't have some offense, but like it just wasn't landing that much.
I was really impressed with like the fluidity, like mid combination on like getting that teep in there, sticking it to like for the disengagement point.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I was really impressed with that. And I made a mention because, I'm thinking MMA mindset. I made a mention. I'm like, yo, dude, he would be like super hard to take down.
Yes.
It'd be great, like reactive takedowns.
Oh my god.
On him, like almost don't exist.
Yeah. Where's the reaction?
Yeah.
You don't know what's coming. It could be a knee, it could be a teep. And also along those lines, when we were discussing like how we think Superlek would be able to transition to MMA very easily, Superlek doesn't have that kind of like traditional Thai style where he's heavy on his back leg, light on the front leg.
He's heavier on the front leg.
Exactly. And so a couple things that are interesting about that is, one, he's still able to defend low kicks. Like a lot of guys, especially newer guys, they're like, oh, I want to be front heavy, and they get their front leg chewed up. Obviously, Superlek has so much experience. He knows how to deal with that. And one, he can check from that, front leg heavy stance, but he often doesn't. A lot of times he'll use movement and slide that leg back. And the advantage to being front leg heavy is that now he can get his right leg off so much faster. Because if you have your weight on your back leg, you have to shift it to the front leg, then get your kick off. Whereas his weight's already there. He fires that leg off so quickly. I mean, obviously his name is the kicking machine, so like that makes sense. But yeah, because he's able to be so front leg heavy, I think that's another reason he would just be awesome transitioning to MMA. Unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna get to see that. But
yeah, no, and I don't necessarily think like I care to. Like, I'm just making like, a note that like, wow, like, this would translate really well. Like, it's not like I'm like, oh man, what a waste he's not translating. I am a big proponent of people like staying in their sport because like that's great as well because MMA does turn the volume down on each portion of the sport, right?
Absolutely.
It takes some of the shine off, because you have to give something up to gain in other areas, and stuff like that. So it's still nice to see like, like Thai boxers and kickboxers in their discipline at the highest level. Same with jiu-jitsu.
Gordon Ryan would not be as good at jiu-jitsu if he was also worried about...
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, not like... And I mean, I'm sure he would still be very good, but like, something's got to give, right?
Exactly.
You got to make the adjustment, which takes some of like the like how like intricate you can be with your single discipline.
Exactly.
And like, same with wrestling. It's like, okay, now there's strikes involved. Strikes involved, including like knees and stuff. So now like our hand fight is completely different.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whereas, in wrestling, like, spend a lot of time on hand fighting setups, and that's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I would hate to, like, lose, like, there's so much, like, beauty
Yes.
and diving into like the detail of the singular sport.
Totally.
That it's like, people are like, oh man, I wish Jordan Burroughs fought MMA. Like, do you? Do you wish he fought MMA because like you just want to see what a high level wrestler would do, or did you want him to fight MMA for like a career?
Right.
Because if you just wanted to be like, oh, I wonder how he would do in MMA, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. But I don't want to take him out of his prime and like take him out of wrestling because how much there has been involved through like someone like him or David Taylor in wrestling, or someone like like Gordon Ryan in jiu-jitsu. Like I'd be curious to see how Gordon would do too.
Yeah.
But I don't want it at the expense of
being
jiu-jitsu.
the greatest.
Yeah,
exactly.
jiu-jitsu.
And also, I think in terms of just like influencing MMA, like now I'm gonna go and tell our whole team, like, go watch Superlek, steal
Yes.
some of his
Yeah.
style, and
Yeah.
that style wouldn't exist if he were in MMA,
Right.
or at least to that degree.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I've gone back and forth on that in my life, but I'm totally with you that like I'm very glad there are specialists in those.
Oh
sports,
yeah, I'm very glad. Yep.
Real quick, while I'm still thinking about it, I'm just thinking about, we were talking before about Superlek's low kick defense, and how even though he's front leg heavy, he'll slide back. The other thing I noticed that just tells me he's so elite is he'll use different defenses based on where he is in the ring. And that just shows like a crazy awareness. So like when his backs are against the ropes and he can't necessarily slide back, he's way more likely to check. Whereas when he has space, he's sliding back, he's jabbing, sliding around and moving. And I just feel like that's something you don't see as much in like, traditional stadium Muay Thai, what people think of as that, stylistically.
yeah.
So just super cool. So anyway,
very
getting back to that fight, it's kind
So
of the
we're
same
round
thing.
two.
Round two.
I'm going Superlek. I got it 2-0.
Me too. So then the third round, first 2 minutes, we're seeing the exact same thing. Superlek's just hitting his game, crushing that leg. And dude, Takeru was super tough. Like, honestly, until like the last round, I don't think I noticed him like even limping a little bit.
Yeah, no, not really. I would notice it here and there. Maybe I was just seeing him wear it, like because there was physical.
Yeah.
Like,
and also he's kind of like, he's got the complexion of me, sort of. Where like,
so it's
like you
gonna
can
show
see
up.
it for sure.
Yeah.
Also, I got to show you the pictures of his bruising the day after. It's next level. It kind of reminds me of like Aldo Faber. Like his leg is just ruined. But anyways, back to the third round. 2 minutes in, Takeru, and we should have gone back and watched what it was. He must have clipped him with something heavy to the body,
Right?
Because I didn't notice it,
And then he was just getting loose on him.
getting loose. And what we noticed when they showed the replay is when he was getting after it, he was hitting a lot of elbows and hips and probably not landing as much.
Yeah, it really wasn't landing nearly as much because Superlek really gave up the head to protect the body there, and then used head movement while in the corner. But it just like, you can't judge something in hindsight based off of slow motion replays. Like, you know what I mean? Because we didn't pick that up live time.
And also, even if you can, going back, I still give that round to Takeru, because the reason he was able to get that, I think we were talking about like the difference between optics versus like effectiveness, right?
Yeah.
And the reason he was able to have those optics is because he landed something that put Superlek into that defensive mode. So it's like, it doesn't matter if some of those, barrages landed.
Yeah, I agree.
He stole that round in my mind, and kind of, we were talking, I forget if it was last week or whenever, about like the unified rules in MMA. The more time I was kind of like being a little contrarian during the episode and hating on the wording there, but the criteria they have, and now that I've thought about it, and since we dove into it in that episode, I think is actually worded pretty well. And one of the things that I liked is like the immediate damage versus the cumulative damage, right? So 2 minutes, Superlek is landing those low kicks. He's building up cumulative damage. He's landing those jabs. He's landing, the occasional two. But then, Takeru lands whatever that body shot was, whatever he hurt him with, and that immediate damage for the next minute, I feel like matters so much more.
I agree.
I think we're on the same page. We gave that round to Takeru.
So I got it 2-1 Superlek heading to the fourth.
And these are all, in my mind, 10-9 rounds. I feel like if he would have dropped Superlek, then I would give him a 10-8.
Yeah, but he didn't.
But he didn't.
Yeah. All right, so we're in round 4.
So we're going to round 4. Superlek is right back on the same thing. I think the biggest differences I saw in round 4 and 5 were that Superlek was starting to land a lot more knees now, which, is another thing that Superlek was doing significantly better than Takeru. Takeru's game plan was really pressure forward and heavy boxing, right? He was just throwing hands. So whenever Superlek was able to disrupt him with that teep or with a jab, it just shut down his entire combination. Where Superlek was landing knees on the inside, punches at mid-range, offensively and defensively, like with that jab work, like we talked about. And then obviously at kick range, he's just crushing low kicks, throwing body kicks as well, a couple head kicks in there. But he's mixing his strikes better, and he's making good strike selections based on the range too. So I think again the only difference I really saw, and maybe I'm forgetting already, but like I think he threw more knees in rounds 4 and 5 than in rounds 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think we can just kind of combine round 4 and 5 together because in my mind they were very similar, with Superlek just staying on his game, adding those knees in, and just outpointing Takeru.
Yeah.
Which then, if we're giving those both 10-9s,
Yeah.
I have them up 4 rounds to 1.
Yeah, I had it 4-1.
Yeah, easy win.
Which under our new scoring system would be 12-3.
Yeah,
He would
yeah.
have won 12-3.
Which, dude, I'm glad you're staying on that because we got to get that to happen. I
Yeah.
love your scoring system.
Dude, so like, not to jump off this fight or anything, but speaking of the scoring system, I just was like listening to somebody talk about fights, and they were like a cornerman, like like a prominent coach or something was like, yeah, he's up 2-0. And I'm like, dude, we all say it like that.
Every single one of us,
Right? Like none of us are like, oh, he's up 2018.
Yeah, yeah.
So back on that bandwagon, but like, yeah.
And again, I think that what did you say, it would have been 12-3, right?
It would have been 12-3, assuming all judges had
Right,
it
had it the
4-1.
same way, and maybe it's like 11-4.
Right, yeah. So like if one judge, like I said, like like maybe that 5th round, which I definitely think Superlek won it, but let's say that someone did think that Takeru won the 5th round, and it was just like one judge, then it's 11-4.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Like, you know what I mean?
And I love that so much more. Because, which, by the way, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, go watch the episode where we discuss the MMA scoring rule set. Mike has just like the best idea for a scoring system ever. Go back and review that. But yeah, like that score sounds so much more dominant, and in my mind,
I just feel like it paints a more
accurate picture
picture of what actually happened.
Exactly.
Right? Like, you know what I mean? So
I think the last thing I really want to touch on with this is in your mind, is Superlek the best striker in the world right now, or would you say that like the Lumpini champ at that weight is, or?
Well, I mean, I would say like Superlek is, because it's almost like the Lumpini and like Raja Nurm. It's like that's like where you go before you come here. It's like, you know what I mean? Now, on one hand, I've heard it explained almost as if it's like you're on like your what's it called, like your parade. You're like your championship. Your farewell tour, your championship tour. It's like, like you win your titles in the stadiums, and then like, okay, now you go fight foreigners,
right,
and stuff. And it's now actually like, it's like that's your reward, is to go get to make money in these fights. Right. It's like, yep, it's already done. My career's over. It's almost like retirement happened.
Yeah.
And then you go do this as like your farewell tour to make all your money. You know, you fight all the foreigners. Like, we saw Bukal do it, Sianchai, and all that. But I think, without having super intimate knowledge, I'm guessing that is starting to change.
I agree 1,000%, because we're starting to see some of those high-level matchups within one. You're seeing Lumpini champ against Lumpini champ, or like decorated K1 champ against Lumpini champ.
Right. Yeah, and it just pulls in more. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, yeah, man, like this guy's a 3-time state champ, and then it's like, all right, cool, and it's in PA, so it's the best state. It's like, yeah, but like, like, dude, there's other people out there,
right?
And it's like, oh man, this dude from Jersey, I heard he's real good, and it's like, oh, we got to see what that's about.
It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I think another thing that's important to note is that, like, so Superlek isn't, like, we just watched a kickboxing fight, right? But remember, Superlek didn't do the majority of his career kickboxing. And his last fight against Rodtang was a Muay Thai fight. And my conspiracy is, I think we discussed this, but that he intentionally missed weight, or like ONE FC wanted him to miss weight because they wanted to maintain Rodtang's star power. And, if Superlek steals that championship, then what do you do with Rodtang?
Yeah.
And so, I think Superlek, in my mind, I mean, he's just like the dual champ, what I mean? And the fact that he's able to dominate in kickboxing and in Muay Thai, I mean, like, in my mind, he's the best striker in the world right now.
Yeah, I'm going to have to co-sign.
Yeah.
I'll co-sign that.
So, Unless you got anything else to add to that, that's
do
our
not.
wrap up of Superlek and Takeru, which also a great fight. Like people keep talking about how like why isn't Muay Thai more popular and kickboxing more popular in the States, and like I just think that if one keeps doing what they're doing, they're really gonna latch onto something with that.
So maybe to get some people like maybe a little bit more excited about one championships, like especially in our local, like our current community right now, I feel like one championships is not getting like the kind of like appreciation and the shine. But maybe something for you guys to look forward to, get you a little bit more into that, because it does offer kickboxing, Muay Thai, MMA, and Jiu-Jitsu matches, right? So like you're getting like your very like how we were talking about. I don't want to take them out of that discipline, and like how deep you can go in those disciplines. You got that, and then we also have like the MMA aspect of it. We have crossover fights, crossover matches. We've got the MMA guys going and doing Jiu-Jitsu matches and stuff. So we are getting a lot of interesting thing, like a lot of questions answered, like, oh, how would he do in pure jiu-jitsu?
Right.
Like, it's like, oh man, this dude's got jiu-jitsu's phenomenal, da, da, da. But like us, some of us who may be a little slightly more educated in that would be like, yeah, dude, he's got the best jiu-jitsu in MMA. But like, we understand that the best of something in MMA is not the best of that, right? Or it's very unlikely.
You're right, exactly.
That it's the best of that. So it's like, ooh, how would he do? Or like GSP.
Yeah.
Back in his day, everyone was like, dude, he's the best wrestler in MMA, which I believe he was.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? So people are like, oh, he would do this in wrestling, and then he would go like wrestle with some like people and just get crushed.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's not apples to apples, but that doesn't take away from anything. Exactly. But we do get to see some of that.
And okay, so this is also cool about one. There's a couple things that are interesting. So one, was it Cade, or I think it was Cade Rutola who was on this last card as well.
Yeah, Cade was on this
and
one.
He was talking about how he wants to do MMA. So now it's like, okay, cool. You can, in the same organization, we're going to get to see him do MMA this year. The other thing on this card that was interesting, did you hear about the Nikki Holskin Akiyama fight?
I did not.
Okay, interesting. So Nikki Holskin, he's known as mostly a kickboxer, and I'm sure he's done a little Muay Thai in his time as well. He fought Yoshihiro Akiyama, who had like a great UFC career.
Yeah,
Sexyama. Yeah, love Akiyama. But
he's got to be pretty old.
He is. But he looks great, dude. I mean, probably a little juicy, but
yeah.
But they fought a mixed rules fight, and this is one of the more interesting ones. First round, little gloves, shoes, boxing. Second round, shoes come off. I think it was either kickboxing or Muay Thai. And then third round, MMA. Didn't make it to the second or third round. Nikki Holskin knocked him out. But, like, interesting premise, I think.
Yeah, that is an interesting premise.
And again, we get to see...
I'm not, like, super into mixed rules fights. I'm not. I'm not super into them, but, like, I'm not like, oh, get him out of here. Like,
but again, we kind of get to see, like, that blending of, like, oh, like, Akiyama was, he's, for all intent, I mean... He's not going to go down as like one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time, but like he's a great MMA fighter. He made it to the UFC, long career, had some big wins.
Here goes my thing with
we get to see that against elite striking.
Yeah, but like here goes my thing with it. It's like, all right, dude, like imagine negotiating that. Okay, me and you are going to do a mixed rules fight.
Yeah.
All right. How's it going to go? Tell me how it's going to go. Me versus you, mixed rules fight.
If I'm negotiating.
Yeah, you're negotiating.
I'm going to say rounds 1 through 4 Muay Thai, round 5 MMA.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna be like, dude, round 1's MMA, right? Round 1 MMA, right? Like I would even give you, I would negotiate where I'd be like rounds 2 through 5 Muay Thai, give me round 1 MMA, right? Because like, dude, I'm not letting you do Muay Thai round 1.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? So like, why would he agree to the boxing round? Like he doesn't get to his thing until round 3.
Yeah, and we know that he has a significant disadvantage rounds 1 and 2. Like Holskin, dude, I don't think people understand. Like especially kids today, like they might not have seen Holskin in his prime, but dude, like a monster.
Yeah,
monster.
So Rod Tang, Demetrius Johnson, theirs was Muay Thai MMA, right? And then in the MMA round, that was it.
Right, exactly.
That's why you couldn't do the MMA round first.
Yeah.
Because the thing was, like, it was like, like, it's like, oh, can he do it? Can he do this? Can he survive this or whatever? It's like, dude, like, house money was on as soon as it's an MMA round, this fight's over. So if you started with it, you might as well just have made it an MMA fight then.
Yeah.
Because it's only going to be one round. And it's only going to be that MMA round. That's it.
You know what's crazy about that fight? that fight in particular, I remember being so excited for it, and I was starting to buy into the hype. I was like, "Oh man, can Rontek finish him in the first round?" Blah blah blah. And then you and I had a conversation, and 30 seconds in, I was like, "Why did I ever think?"
Dude, sometimes you get sucked in like
I
that.
got so sucked in. I
get sucked in too.
I was like,
sometimes.
Rontek might do it in the first, and obviously in that fight, like honestly, Demetrius Johnson looked good in that first round. Like I was shocked at how good he looked.
But like I was just like, listen, like you're like, oh, and then, like it's just like you probably got like all these like grand illusions going in your head, and I just had to bring it back to reality. I'm like, dude, he's got zero chance to win this fight.
Yeah,
he's got zero chance to win.
And after we had that conversation, I was just like, oh yeah. How did I ever think he was gonna win?
What is he gonna do?
Like, what's he? Because you also have to remember. Let's say he knocks him down. He can get back up and keep going. You know what I mean? All he has to do is just stay alive for 3 minutes, which he did a great job there. And also, Demetrius Johnson has one of the best clinch games in MMA. And I was just like, how did I ever think that was going to happen? And I was like, all right, dude, realistically, like, how long do you think that Rodtang can, like, defend the takedown? And you were like, when's the last time you saw Rodtang take a step backwards? And I was like, oh, yeah, he's getting taken out immediately. And I was like, okay, well, how long do you think he can defend the submission? And you were like, 30 seconds tops. And I was like
just if he like rolls around like a banshee.
Yeah.
But like, dude, it's over. It's over.
And I thought about it. I racked my brain for ways that Rodtang could potentially fight it off longer, and I was like, there's no way.
And the more you thought about it, the more you realized
I was like,
yeah.
And then it went down exactly how you said it.
All right. Okay, so
all right, yeah, let's move on.
That was kind of brought around we're gonna be working on our capabilities here in the studio to start to do some fight companions.
Yes.
And I believe our focus is going to be on the one championships, because it will give us a little bit of my flavor, a little bit of your flavor, and our flavor. So that might be kind of cool. And I just feel like, like they'll be cooler about it too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if we're like,
the UFC's like,
might be like, get these dudes out of here.
They're like, we heard 30 seconds of our sound in the back. Like, you're done.
Yeah, you're done. So yeah, we're working on that. So stay tuned for those. If you don't know what a fight companion is, it's basically we'll be on a live stream, and basically we'll be like watching the fights with us, hearing our reactions to the things, watching along with us. One of the plans is like we'll be able to interact with you as well.
We'll have like a chat or whatever.
Yeah, hopefully. Currently, my phone is our camera.
Yeah.
So we're gonna work on that so that way I can have my phone.
I think I got it sorted out actually. Yeah. So yeah, we'll find a time. Keep your eyes open for that.
Yeah. So just teaser. All right, let's move on into some local happenings.
Yes.
Stout PGH related.
Yep.
So we had our first fight of the year. Okay. We had Will Moriarty. Some of you know him as Tim. Some of you know him as Will Tim. Some of you know him as Mittens.
Which also,
you got any more?
I don't, but real quick,
Mr. Mittens.
We mentioned him on a recent episode. We were supposed to have a fight before that with Brody, and I told everyone to like get fired up about it.
Oh yeah.
The kid Brody was supposed to fight. He pulled out like 2 days beforehand. I don't know if it was because he was like, "Oh, I'm 5'9" and I have to push this up a weight class or two to 190, and this kid's a killer and he's gonna kick my head off."
Is this the same kid who pulled out on Donahue the day before as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, I understand why he did it, because he was going to get killed, but also, like, come on, bro. But anyways, so Brody's fight didn't happen. First fight of the year. Will's going in.
Will Moriarty. So Will made his debut August 5th of the past year. Morgantown, West Virginia. Fought a guy who looked exactly the same.
Yeah, dude.
They looked exactly like a bald white dude with like brown facial hair, full beard, just face the exact same person.
Yeah.
The only thing different was their names and who they actually were.
Right.
It's like, holy crap. Yeah. So anyhow, I'll just give you a little rundown. He's fighting in Cleveland. That gives us Ohio rules, which I kind of feel like the Ohio rules better suit Will's game, which may come as a surprise because wrestling and grappling is not his strong suit. Striking is.
Yes.
So you would think maybe it's more apt to put a wrestler out there because he can strike back here, back at home and stuff. I just felt like he had better finishing ability out there because Will can crack.
He sure can.
But at 55s, and like, he'll be working his way to 45s, but at 55s, like same day 55s.
Yeah, exactly.
What are the odds that you're cracking like sleeping them?
Yeah.
You know, like usually you gotta go finish some stuff up on the ground, right? So like that gives him the ability to go ahead and follow up and things like that. So I don't know. I just felt like it's good rule set for him, and we'll bring him back to PA once he's a 3-fight.
Yeah, keep those shin guards off.
Yeah, keep the shin guards off him, and let him really like crack out there.
Should we set the scene a little bit with his last fight, kind of what happened?
Yes, we're gonna set the scene. I want to talk some backstage pre-fight.
Perfect. All right, cool.
I want to dive like fairly deep into his fight,
love it.
which is like, luckily we can, because
we were there.
we were we were there, but also like he was the only fighter on the card, which is not preferred.
No.
We do not want that. Okay. We have a fairly deep roster now, and I mean, I'm more than happy to do it. Right, loved it. Great time.
Oh yeah,
but would have been nice to have a couple more people on the card. Yeah. Okay, so let's set the stage. Let's go. Let's take it back to Morgantown, West Virginia.
Yeah.
August 5th, 2023.
Yeah. So this is Will's first fight. In West Virginia, it's no shin guards, and you can throw head kicks.
Well, he had shin guards, didn't he?
No.
He didn't? Oh, sick.
Oh, now you got me thinking maybe he did.
He might have had shin guards. He might not have. I remember they made Zach Drzemecki put shin guards on last second, and it was his second fight. I don't know. I think it's like a little bit like scattered out there, because now I don't remember him wearing shin guards.
Yeah, I don't remember him.
I almost want to pull up pictures. Whatever. Who cares?
Regardless, it doesn't really matter. But head kicks
Irrelevant.
are legal, right?
Head kicks are legal.
First of all, I was super impressed with how composed Will was before his first fight. He was just like chill, hanging out. Warm up didn't go super well. They rushed us a little bit, and he
was fight 4, and it came like way quicker than like your average.
And so we're going out a little bit early. Will's just like totally fine. Comes out composed, and it was a pretty short fight. But like everything up until the end went well. Will comes out, his striking looks good, he's getting good positions, and I remember he sent a head kick that I was like, oh my god, like that was incredible. And obviously his opponent didn't like it too much either, because he shot pretty early, and
but Will stuffed it.
Took his back, like standing.
Yeah, like standing over him in turtle.
Starts landing strikes.
Got a little too high, falls off the back over the head. Therefore, now the turtles have been completely reversed. From top turtle to falling over to bottom turtle. Opponent secures the back, Will stands, gets it to the cage to try to utilize the cage as a tool to separate that chest to back connection. Unfortunately, his opponent was able to sink in the rear naked choke, and that was the fight.
Yeah, so I believe it was like... I want to say it was like a minute or so in, which again, on paper, having like a minute.
I said a minute, and you were like, no, bro, it was like 20 seconds.
I think I looked at it recently.
That was like
it's
on
closer
air.
To a minute. Yeah, I know. Go back.
It was on air.
I think you said 2 minutes, and I said like 20 seconds. And I think it was actually somewhere in between.
Yeah, I think it was like a minute, and I think I said a minute, so we're gonna have to pull them receipts.
We'll pull it up.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Anyways, like on paper, when you have like a minute submission loss, it looks
looks
bad.
like you just got crushed.
But like that's not what happened. And also for us from a coaching perspective, like the fact that he came out so composed and like looked as good as he did, doing everything, like there was a lot of good to take away from that fight,
Actually, his profile picture since that day was me up, like it was a good picture. Good photo.
Great picture.
Yeah, I really like the picture, so I'm not surprised that he's using it, because it's a good picture. But what might be surprising is like the meaning behind it, So it's like, it's like literally 5 seconds after a loss, right? And then he puts it as his profile picture. I would like to ask him like why he did that, right? Like, was it as a reminder of how that was? Was it a reminder of like what I said? Was it because I've heard of some wrestlers, some prominent wrestlers, when they like lost a tournament and they took second place, like it's like, oh hey, where's your Super 32 championship medal? Oh, I don't know, it's somewhere, maybe in a box or hanging up on the mantle or something. Hey, where's your runner-up medal? It's on my doorknob. So I have to hear it hit my door. Every time I open my door and close my door, I have to hear it hit my door and remember that I lost.
Yep.
Type of thing. Which I don't know how I feel about that, but like
That's a little wild.
it is. But like whatever. It's
Never mind. That's a story for
it's
another
kind
time.
of hard a little bit. It's like
Yeah.
it's like damn, dude. It's like I've never done that. I've actually been pretty pumped about silver medal. Like, dude, I took second place. It was sick.
Again, I have stories from my childhood.
All right, so
Tell you
but
about
in
later.
that, I was like, in that picture, I'm like, dude, that's like, that was one mistake. You slipped on the banana peel, like catastrophic mistake, and it cost you. You're doing great. Like, you should not have your head down about this. Tons of great stuff. We're gonna get back on the horse, and you're gonna be fine. So, do you got anything else about the August 5th fight?
No.
Before we move on, so fast forward, he's supposed to fight December 2nd in Youngstown. Opponent withdraws, fight falls through. Boom, we get replaced onto this January 27th card in Cleveland. So, should have been like just like a 4-month. Wait, September, October, November. Yeah, like a 4-month turned into a 5.5 month hiatus between fights. Not bad though. That's time to improve.
Right? Yeah.
So we're in Cleveland. We get there, killing time, just as of course is tradition. We're just sitting in the back, like doing a bunch of nothing. What are your thoughts at that point in time? How you feel? How do you think it's going?
So I think it's going okay. I mean, it was the MGM in Cleveland.
Yeah,
it's like
nice casino.
Yeah, nice venue, and like that can
Let's
get
talk
to,
about the venue.
Well, that
okay?
can get to a young fighter is what I'm trying to get at. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
it was
it's
nice.
big. Exactly.
It was nice.
It looked
arena.
professional.
The arena, like
Yep.
where you fought. So they use that new line cage, which is huge. It's sick. It's such a
Love
good
it.
cage. I
Yeah.
love that cage, dude. The bigger the cage, the better, man.
I agree.
love. Give them space.
Yes.
Give them
See
space. Let
some
them fight.
movement. Yep.
Yeah. I feel like it kind of shows more completeness. Like
100%.
Larger
Yeah.
space. So, dude, it's just a phenomenal arena. Dude, they were running it. Let's get to that. But first, let me talk some shit. All right? So I told my fighter, Stout PGH fighters know that if you fight in a casino, you get extra, like, credit from me. Because your boy loves to gamble. Right? So we show up an hour early. We don't need to be there till 5. I'm like, yo, we're getting there at 4. I'm hitting the tables. No tables in Ohio, dude. I didn't know that. I was walking through. I'm like, where the hell are the tables? It's only slots. I guess they don't like allow table games in Ohio. They had like the sports book, but like, what am I gonna do there right now? And then slots. I'm not playing slots, dude. Give me on the tables.
While I'm very very saddened for your loss, I was fired up because then I didn't have to eat casino food because gambling
Dude,
is
the
not my
casino
thing.
food would have been better than we went to.
Yeah,
Panda.
that's true.
We went to
Actually, it's
Panda
true.
Express. Yeah, I'm so pumped. I got to go to Panda Express in Cleveland, Northfield, Ohio.
But regardless, it's a good venue. We're in the
It is
back.
a good venue. No one's fighting there again. Though.
I'm hoping that Will isn't letting like the
Until they get tables, no
the
one's
ev-
fighting there.
I'm hoping that Will isn't letting like the event like get to him because it's like it looks professional and everything.
Yeah, it did look professional.
And we're hanging out back there. Will's doing
Dude, it
great.
ran professional too. They
Oh my god,
killed that.
so fast. They didn't do.
Do you think that was a commission thing or a promotion thing?
I believe it's a
'Cause I
promotion
feel-
thing. I think you were right about the fact that the promotion probably wasn't getting beer sales. It felt
Yeah.
like, and so they were just like, "Hey, let's just run it efficiently."
Dude, it was. Let's get into that after we talk about the
Okay,
fight.
so Will's in the back, and same thing as first fight. He's super composed. He's calm. He's relaxed. He just seems to be ready.
I
And-
got to tell you, I saw some nerves.
really.
in him.
I thought he hit it pretty well. I thought.
Yeah,
he-
I mean, I think he handled it very well, but I saw some nerves in him.
maybe handle is a better word than hit.
Yeah, he handled it very well, but I saw some nerves in him, maybe some pressure. Like he's like basically fighting the same dude.
yeah.
And so whatever. So it's time to good warm up.
Yeah.
And like that's the difference.
Yeah.
Right there. Like I saw some like nerves and anxiety in him, which is normal and you should have, you know. And then I saw his warm up, right? And then like I just felt like he was different.
Yeah, he
from
was
the
real
warm-up.
loose. Yep.
Yeah, and like he just like had that blowout. He was like yeah, like I'm ready to go.
Yep.
So they take us to staging. The fight before him ends. They play like a buffer song
Yeah.
while they getting them out of the cage, like a song so it's not quiet before they announce like Will and then play Will's walkout song. and their buffer song was my walkout song.
Yep.
And I was like, bro, that's my walkout song. I was like, that's an omen. Let's go.
Yep.
They hit Will's music. We walk to the cage. He feels confident. Boom, boom, water, grease, mouthpiece. And we're in that bad boy. Big cage. He's feeling it out. He's moving. I could tell he like rubbed his feet on the ground. Like he like, and then like did like a bounce, spin. And I was like, whoop, he's on. I was like, he's on.
And Will's like, he's like really athletic, you know what
Very
I mean? So
athletic.
Like when he's moving, you can see the athleticism.
Yeah, it's like apparent. Right?
Yeah, you know he's going to be a good striker when you see him.
Yeah, I just like, it's like he dug in. He was like, zoop, zoop, and like, boom, boom. It reminds me of like when a basketball player like reaches back and wipes their shoe off, like, and then they like, it's like, ooh, they're on, like, you know.
I don't know, but I'll take your word for it.
It happens. Yeah, you wipe off, you like reach back and you like pick your heel up, you reach back and you wipe off your each side, and then you're like, you're ready to rock. Yeah. So anyhow,
also, I think you wanted to touch on this. They didn't announce like who you are or anything. You're just in. Let's go.
Yeah. So like you're in, right, and it's normally like, okay, fighting out of the blue corner, coming in 5'8" tall, weighing in 155 ready pounds, fighting out of the steel city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Will Moriarty. Right. Nope, they didn't do that. So I'm here setting up my phone because in Ohio you can use your phone to run a stopwatch. In PA, you're not allowed your phone out, so you have to like we use Will's watch or an actual stopwatch. But I like to just be able to glance and see, and see. And then like some promotions like 247, I look up and like it's on the like the jumbotrons. It's like on there, so I just use that. But like because like knowing the time can be beneficial.
Yeah.
All right, without going into any more detail on that.
Yes.
So I'm setting it up, boom, and they're fighting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm like, what happened to the whole like red corner, blue corner thing? Like they just brought the other dude in there, like beep, beep, bang. So the fight gets off. Why don't you take us through some striking?
Oh, hold on. I want to talk about that for a second. I love that it runs so efficiently for a couple of reasons, right? And also that promotion, another thing they did that was really good. Most promotions, you'll get pulled to a staging area the fight before yours. This one, they had like a dual staging area, so it was 2 fights out, which could maybe interfere with warm-ups a little bit, but overall, I think it was a good system.
Well, I would say in most promotions we deal with, like, I've never had an issue with like staging, right? Like when I think of like 247, it's like, oh, you're next, and like Jesse comes and gets you. Like, it's never been like, I just felt like it's always just been like staging.
I can remember like 1 or 2 times, not in 247, but like in other promotions where like the event has been slowed down because they're like, oh, go get that guy from the red locker room. There was a fight in Ohio way back in the day. I can't remember now. It doesn't matter. But like even if it slows it down like 2 minutes, you know what I mean? It's just like kind of a pain, you know?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, yeah.
So one, it's a pain for the spectators because they want to see the next fight, you know what I mean? And two, it's annoying when you're in the cage and your guy's doing a long walkout and then they're doing these intros and you're just standing there, you just want to fight,
Yeah.
So like they just got past all of that. I thought it was very well run. But anyways, into the fight itself.
They
say go. Obviously starts standing up. Will is doing everything that I want him to do. He's dominating positionally. He's engaging when he should be engaging. He's disengaging when he should be disengaging. It's always his turn. His strikes look sharp. They look fast.
Look so fast.
He's making the correct decisions on which strikes to throw. He's controlling space well. At one point, he got backed up towards the cage, and something that we've been drilling a lot, his guy, covered distance on him. He gets that frame in there.
Checks.
Turned him. Like, we've been doing a lot of that in drills. And just right back to his striking. It was just, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
His opponent, had to shoot on him because, he's getting touched. And again, Will can crack. Ooh. So,
he's the kind of guy, though, that, you don't know he can crack until the fight because, he's not doing that in practice.
Right, exactly. He's not one of those guys who's, in my mind, kind of, douchey and just, cracking on dudes in practice,
Yeah, he doesn't do it. And, sometimes, I've talked to him about it. It's that it can feel detrimental because, he's we talk about it, right? Like sometimes, if someone doesn't respect that you, it's oh, I just threw this head kick, right?
Right.
And I pulled it because it's a head kick and you did not defend it.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? So, I stopped it and then, you, take advantage of that.
Right.
Right? It's okay, if I would have sent that through, you wouldn't have been able to do it. But I didn't send it through out of you for your
Exactly.
safety. So maybe you shouldn't take advantage of that.
Right.
You know. So it's like that with him. Like sometimes, like yeah, dude, if he was cracking, that might not be there. You know, but you know he won't in practice, which is good. You know, he's a good
Absolutely.
training partner, and that pays off because he's a good training partner. He gets good training
He
partners.
sure does.
You know, yeah. You earn your
Everyone wants to
training
work
partners.
with Will.
Oh yeah, Mr. Mittens.
Dude.
Yeah.
Love Will. But anyways.
So he's cracking. He
Yep.
he hits a step off. He checks on that takedown, hits a step off, cracking some more.
His opponent shoots on him again. And do you want to take over from here?
Yeah. So dude, so he stuffs it. He spins, and dude, he's exactly where he was in his first fight. He's standing over rear turtle, right? And I'm just like, oh,
Same position as last
here we
time.
go.
Yeah.
So he's standing over rear turtle, boom, cracks, and I'm like, slow down, like let's get these hooks in, right? So boom, he gets a chest to back connection, slides his hips back, goes underneath the arm, and he runs a wrist ride, right? Now, wrist ride that we literally been, all the fighters watching this from the fight team are going to be like, yo, like, that's what we did for 2 weeks straight in Tuesdays and Thursday nights practice. Is this like top turtle, ride this wrist, chest to back connection, which hook goes first, which hook goes second, and like stuff like that. This dude, he rides this wrist ride. And I'm like, dang. I'm like, already? Like, I'm not expecting it to be in your game yet.
Right.
You know? Runs the wrist ride, plants the shoulder, gets the hooks in. And he was like, I knew when he told me after, I knew when I put that first hook in, his hips were going to come up, like you said. His hips came up, thankfully, like I said. I was like, yeah, dude, that always happens. So, yeah, his hips come up. He throws the second hook in, flattens him out, just gets loose.
Boom.
Only gets like,
It was
2 or 3 off.
2 on the side that he started defending on, and then he went hammer fist on the other side.
Yeah, on that.
Yeah,
Boom. And then his opponent tapped to their strikes, which I couldn't think of another instance. I think he's the first person on our team to win by submission 2 strikes.
Dude, honestly, I was just thinking about this the other day because I was telling my wife when I came home, like, it was crazy. He made him tap to strikes. Which, by the way, I don't think that's any, like, no disrespect to his opponent. I don't think that was a bad decision, and I don't.
Yeah,
think
no,
that,
he
like,
was fully flattened out. He had nowhere to go.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I don't think that like makes you like
no, I don't
nervous or
either.
anything.
GSP, my favorite fighter,
That's what I was gonna say. Is
tap the strikes.
I'm pretty sure that that's the last time I saw someone tap to strikes. I can't
We've
think
had
of.
to have seen it.
I mean, I had to have, but like, I can't think of one.
Yeah.
You know, it's a long way of saying it's a very rare thing to have happen. And you know, just Will's just ecstatic, soaking it all in.
Yeah, he's having a great time. I'm trying to think. I feel like I had something else to say about that.
Well, maybe this will.
Oh yeah. So first off, his ground and pound from the back control, and like I am a victim of this. Like even in my pro career, specifically actually my pro debut. In my pro debut, I took my opponent's back and I hips in, flattened him out, right, and I'm just like, you know, unloaded, and I'm pleading with Chip to stop the fight. I'm like, Chip, he wants out of here. You got to save him. You got to save him. And in my head, I'm cracking, right? And then I watch the video back, and I'm like punching him like I'm barely pulling my arms back, right? Will was like, so because of that, I've learned from my mistakes, and now that's something that I try to tell, like, listen, you think that you're throwing, and you're not, because you're using so much of your body for the control that you think like these little shots, you think you're coming back. No. Let's pull those shoulders back. Let's pull those shoulders
Get
back.
a little space.
And boy, did he. Boy,
Yeah.
did he. Yeah, and a submission to strikes. Good times.
And so, like, what I think is most impressive about that, which there's so much to be impressed by, right? The composure leading up to the fight. Which when you're going in 0-1, it's a rough place to be in, because in your head you're like,
You're like,
oh my
I can't
God.
go 0-2.
Yeah, if I lose another one, now I'm 0-2. I'm on the streak. I haven't won yet. Like, it's so easy to get
It's
in
like,
your head.
can I even call myself a fighter?
Right,
Like,
yeah. Like, it's so easy to be in your head. And then he goes out. He gets to the exact same position.
Yeah,
he
that
made a
critical moment,
error.
yeah.
The last time.
And then just runs it perfectly.
Exactly. And fixed that
And
mistake.
honestly, there couldn't have been I can't imagine a better way for him to win other than like, it's like fully getting it back. You know, like, dang,
dude,
I got it back.
for sure. And before that moment, obviously dominating the striking, just looking phenomenal there. Like, I just couldn't be more impressed with that fight. It was a great first fight of the year for us. So happy for Will.
Yeah, I was just like thinking like, all right, so what from that fight should I work on? Like, should we focus on for him? And it's like, dude, nothing really from that fight. Just like
Yeah.
things that you already know.
Exactly.
He needs just regular progression and so like but nothing in that fight's like, hey, next time this
Yeah,
and
we
that.
have to
There
fix
was like
this.
nothing there.
No, I didn't see anything that was like right away. I'm sure if I go back and watch it, I can like analyze like, oh, this could be a
If
little
I
better
want
or
to
whatever.
nitpick, but nothing.
But
nothing.
overall, nothing glaring. It's like, oh, we have to fix that, even though you won. Like it was just phenomenal performance.
Great, just a great performance by him. I'm very excited for him, and I would like to see him get back in there before summer.
Yeah, dude, for him, the sooner the better.
Yeah. So
Congrats, Will.
Congrats. We'll get in some discussions. Enjoy a little rest, and then we'll get back to planning and improving.
Yep.
All right, cool.
I think we got one more thing to talk about here. So
one more thing.
So not this past weekend, but the weekend before, you went on a little training trip.
Yeah. So a couple of the fighters from the team, myself and Warren, we headed out on a little training trip. We left. So we went to Saturday fight team sparring. After sparring, we grabbed a little lunch. We headed east, right? In typical Warren fashion, he's like, all right, we're going to get an Airbnb. Okay, Warren, we're driving. We take 2 cars out. It's like, all right, what's the address? Oh, no, I didn't get it yet.
Yeah.
Dude, he's so funny. Not a care in the world. I could tell everybody with us was like,
where are we going to stay?
What are we doing? Like, we don't have plans. And stuff. I think like Lucas was telling his mom, like his mom's like, "You're going where? Oh, where are you staying?" He's like, "I don't know." She's like, "What do you mean you don't know?" So on the trip was Warren, myself, Farman, Brittany, Lucas, and Josh Ramirez. So we all go out, Warren grabbed us a really nice Airbnb. What we did was, since we were going to be primarily in the Jersey area, and we were going to go up and touch New York City and come down and finish off in Philly, but primarily around the Jersey area, instead of staying by one spot, we got something that was kind of more centrally located, right? And it being like late January, we got a beach house.
That's so sick.
Yeah, because it's cheap right now.
Right, yeah.
So we were in Asbury Park. So we stayed there. Nice house. Everybody had their own room because, it's not that crazy like during this time of year. Which was good because the fighters got to like hit the grocery store, eat a little healthier than if we were like eating out for every meal. But it seemed like everything was like one gym was a half hour away, one gym was an hour, this and so forth. So we get there. Our first stop, we go to Henzo's Sunday morning, 9:30 practice up at the main academy, New York City. Really cool. And we really wanted to stop there because it's like visiting the home, it's like paying
the home base.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, dude, we're here. Like, you should make your trip there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We go in, and we're gonna do a no-gi class. Okay, I'm not training at this time.
Right.
I have a finger injury that's keeping me out, and I know it seems really wimpy, but if I ever want to open my hand, I have to so my finger gets stuck like this, and then I don't have the ability to open. But yeah, so that's why in the past episodes you've seen like braces on it probably. But I'm not training, so I get to watch it all in. Everybody else is training at this no-gi class. Go ahead.
About your injury, why you definitely can't get that same injury is you made fun of Six Gun for having that injury.
Did I?
You sure did. You don't remember that?
No, because I have it on this finger.
Dude.
But it doesn't bother me on my pinky.
After he taught that seminar, we were hanging out at Cinderlands, and I think, or maybe it was right at the beginning. I don't know. I feel like it was at Superlek's, but you shook his hand and you were like, "Bro, what's up with your finger?" Because he has one that's stuck because it's like a common injury.
Yeah, and he didn't get it fixed.
No.
Come on, Brandon, you got to get that shit fixed. They do surgeries for it now, but it's gross. The surgery, like after they cut it and reattach it to keep it attached, they put a pin through your finger that it's exposed. Not like when you get a pin in your ankle when you broke your ankle, right? Like, you can touch it, like it goes through.
You can see the hinge.
Yeah, you can touch it on each side and stuff. And I got 2 young kids. You think they're not going to yank on that?
Yeah, dude, no.
No shot, dude. I was like, I'm not trying to get that. So anyhow, they're training. It's a really good class, and they finish up the class with 7 sevens. 7 7-minute rounds. And, everybody's doing a really good job and stuff. Warren's beating up some people, which is good. Oh, they made a big deal about, Warren being there, too, which I thought was cool. Like, first off, I mean, like I knew kind of like Warren's relationship with it up there since like he started in Brazil, but then went like with Hollis, who was
Right.
from there, and then went there and stuff. And every time I've been there with Warren, it's been like, oh, Warren. And you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, like Warren's like the real deal.
Yep.
Like
I
like
saw the exact same thing when I was there with like
yeah, people,
Warren's a legit OG there.
yeah. The desk, the woman working the desk didn't know Warren because she was younger. She
Right.
probably was like 5 when Warren was training there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she's like very nice. She's like, oh, do you know where the locker rooms are? And Warren's like, yeah, actually, we used my truck to move into this place. Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, it's like, yeah, you've been around. So they made a really big deal about that. It was really cool. Because like all the guys could be like, oh, like, man, like, you're for real.
Yeah.
So that's good. Everybody's doing well. Ramirez is on one, bro. Josh Ramirez was on one. So there was a guy up there. I'm not going to use any names or whatever, but he's very good. And I was up there last year because I taught a little seminar for Bridget's women's group, a little mixer seminar. So I was up there last year. So like I'm catching some classes while I'm up there, and I roll with this specific guy who Ramirez is going to roll with here, and he whooped me, dude. He put it on me. He put me to sleep. Right. And I'm like, this dude's good. And I'm like, all right, I want him with Ramirez because Ramirez is really good.
Yeah.
So I put Ramirez with him. Dude, put it on him, dude. He was like jumping over his guard, like doing all types of stuff. I'm just like, oh, he hit this. So on Thursday, the Thursday prior, I'm just kind of like showing off a little bit, right? And I do like this like diving truck roll from like when you're passing guard and they're looking to retain, like diving over the top. Boom, truck roll, taking the back. And Ramirez is like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, dude, no, that's nothing. It's just like something to do in a scramble. And he's like, let me see it. And like, so like I show him and I'm like, let's not worry about it. Like, let's work on our fundamental technique.
Some high percentage stuff.
And he's like, just like, maybe just once or whatever. And so like I show it to him and Lucas, right? And I'm like, all right, so, and I go real slow and I'm like, all right, we replace this foot with this hand, and stuff like that. And they each do it like one time. Yeah. They're like, oh, that is cool. And I'm like, yeah, like, maybe at some point we'll really work on it because like I most use it, like, I don't even know. Right, like I'm in a scramble, and the next thing I know, like my legs are like doing it, and then I'm on the back, and I'm like, yeah, right. It's like one of those things, like it becomes
it's
like
just in there,
in there, right, and that fits their styles as well. Dude, he hit it. Hit it. I'm like, bro. I'm like, you drilled it one time. So he's just stunting. Really, like I said, like, oh, his back hurts because he carried us, dude. He put the team on his back.
That's sick.
So he gets done with that roll, and the guy who was coaching the class, really nice guy, taught some really good techniques, was really good himself. Kind of watched that go down, and he's rolling also, but he like wasn't rolling that round. Watched that go down, and he's like, I want some of that, So I don't know if it was like, yo, let me show you what's up, or I actually more so lean to like, this dude's like, I gotta see what that's about.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like it was like coming from a good place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If I'm doing that, it's probably me like checking you. You know what I mean? Like, if you come in and like, let's say like you're in my class and you're rolling with like one of my better guys and you just whoop on them, I'm like, bet. I'm like, all right, it's me and you next, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Gotta get it back.
Right, yep, gotta fly the flag, I felt like this dude was more so intrigued.
Right, yeah.
But so him and Josh go, and Josh is just freaking working him, dude. This guy's real like kind of like spinny, like inversions type dude. Josh gets him like pinned in like a north-south position, like standing, like doing actually all the stuff that I've been teaching in the advanced no-gi on loose passing. And I'm like, dude, we've done this, like you've done it twice. You know what I mean? And so he's doing it. He gets to north side, he pins it down, and he just does a diving front roll over the dude's back and like rolls him with him into a crab ride and takes his back. And I'm just like, damn, dude. I'm like, he was having a day.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was good times. He really like made us look good. And like, I think like, so I haven't worked with Josh like too much, like I showed him like, I showed him that truck roll. I showed him like a little bit about loose passing. But like, like he's pretty much, he was good well before meeting me. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't make him good. He arrived. He arrived already good. but they don't know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't know that.
So you're like, dude, I'm the best coach in the world.
Yeah, bro. They're like looking at me, and I'm like, he's a tough kid. You know? Hey, he works hard. He's a hard worker. You know, he shows up to classes.
Which is
that
true.
could be you too if you show up to classes. Yeah. Which, I mean, is true. And the fact that, like, if you show up to classes, you will get better. But I didn't do nothing to get better. He was just already good.
Well, to touch on, like him picking up that move you showed him one time, I've been lucky enough to have him in a lot of my classes, and he showed up with, grappling's his strong suit.
Speaking of, he was your practice partner in my class last week.
Yeah. So, he showed up to us, grappling being his strong suit, striking, not quite there as much. And, he's done a lot of my classes, and that's one thing I've noticed about him. I was just like, wow, he learns really, really fast. And also, like, there'll be times he'll be sparring. I'll be like, hey, I want you to hit that thing we drilled on Thursday, and he can just do it. Yeah. And, there was one Monday where I spent, like, the whole class just lecturing about, like, position and stuff and various ways that we describe that. And so mid-sparring, I'm saying those words to him, and he's just hitting it. I'm like, oh, my God, it's incredible. So, like, I'm not surprised at all that he's learning fast.
Dude. I mean, me either. And he did a really great job, made us look good, and I sure took all the credit. That's the price you pay. That's the price you pay. Yeah, so we hang out in New York for a little bit afterwards. Warren went to go. He has his brother, Randy, Long Island. So Warren went up.
We went up to his lab when he and I went up there. Super cool.
So cool.
Super cool, dude.
Yeah,
I wish
his brother's a scientist.
They had like these great AR goggles, and like they were doing A&P work, anatomy and physiology, like with the kids, so that they could be like, okay, let's pull out the venous system, or let's just look at the skeletal system, or the muscular system, or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I had to learn these from this textbook. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I wish they had this when I was
look at that.
a kid. But
So I take those guys around a little bit. We go see times. We just do a little bit of sightseeing.
Some New York stuff.
Have a good time. Everybody's just talking about Josh.
Killing it.
Yeah, we're like, I'm like, he's my replacement and stuff. Him and Warren really got along really well too. So I was like, oh, that's my replacement. Yeah. So we left there, and there was really nothing to do Sunday night. So we took Sunday night off. We just kind of laid low. I'm trying to think of what we did. Oh, I went to the bar by myself for like 6 hours and watched football.
You called me.
I was like, I can't remember what we did Sunday night. I was like, I went by myself and sat at the bar and watched all the division games.
Now, when you say bar, what do you mean?
I was at Applebee's. I had 14 Angry Orchards though. It was cider season, man. Cider season. And I had some chips and queso, and then I drank 14 Angry Orchards. They were like, what is wrong with this guy? So we go back, and that's it. We go to Ricardo Almeida's Monday morning. And I had trained at Ricardo's in the past, but I got a little confused because I was like, is this the same place? Like, I was like, man, this feels different, but the same, right? So we get there, and then I realized, I was talking to guys, I was like, dude, I was like up here like this 1 year or whatever, and I was like, it just feels different. And they're like, oh yeah, we moved, right? And I was like, oh, of course, right? Like, we've moved in the past 10 years. We're in our third location in the strip, fourth location total.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, you grow, you expand, you move. So we go there, really good practice. There were some good guys in there, notably Frankie Edgar was there. This guy, Tyler, ran the practice. He was a Pan Am champ. He ran a really good practice. Stuff that was very applicable for both Nogi Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. There was a young up-and-comer, Mark Gray. He wrestled 133 for Cornell. His brother's actually in his second year as the Cornell head coach.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like, really good wrestling family. Mark is now, he was like 4-0 amateur. He actually, crazy enough, he made his amateur debut on the same card as Brittany made her amateur debut.
Oh, on that CFFC card.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And then he went 4-0 amateur, and now he's 6-0 pro.
Oh, wow.
And he's fighting for the Ring of Combat title in March.
Oh, wow, good for him.
Yeah, what a run, though. Like,
yeah, dude, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's really good. So he was there, and then, I hope I'm not forgetting, Ryan Cafaro was there. So really good group. That was all like, Nogi grappling, again, like mirrored Sunday. And then, yeah, it was just a good time, making good connections, getting good work in, like figuring out where we were going to be training the next day. Like, hey, Frankie, where should we go tomorrow and stuff like this? Because Warren was in contact with Frankie about this trip. And we didn't even know that he was going to be like
There.
well, no, we knew he was going to be there. We didn't know, like, so he was in Toronto Saturday night, and they announced he's going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he's in the crowd, and they bring him in. Oh, he's going to be inducted in July into the Hall of Fame and stuff. And we were watching it at the Airbnb because we got to the Airbnb Saturday night, and we put the fights on, and it's like, oh, Frank Yeager, and we're like, aren't we supposed to like be with him like in 2 days? It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, that's crazy. So, train there, really great training. Ramirez again put the team on his back, just balled out, dude. And then Monday night was my favorite night. So we head up to Hoboken. We visit the Edge.
Your favorite.
The Edge Hoboken. I love it there. I've spent many a nights sleeping on the mats at the Edge. So one of my favorite places to go train. It's owned by one of Warren's very good friends, Dave Esposito. Dave Esposito was a national finalist for Lehigh. He also took third in NCAAs as well. Really great wrestler in himself, but also a very, very, very good coach. He was, has helped a lot of UFC fighters, such as Frank Yeager, Damian Maya.
Yeah, we trained with him back.
Yeah, and even like jiu-jitsu, like Neiman Gracie, good MMA fighter.
Who's that girl who was there? It was one of the best women jiu-jitsu athletes. I told you, I mentioned her when we were there in 2019. I was like, oh yeah, and this woman so-and-so. And you're like, oh my gosh, she's like the best. Doesn't matter, but high-level athletes there.
Yeah, Bernardo Faria was training his wrestling there. And then he won World's Weight and Absolute Black Belt.
Wow.
So, like, yeah, he's got good stuff there. So we go there, and there's, like, not, like, a practice for us, so to speak. So Dave and Cody Hamra, who is, like, currently, like, a top-level wrestling coach for MMA fighters, like, was helping coach, like, Sean Brady and, like, those guys at Marquez MMA. Damian Maya, like, brings him down to Brazil and then comes up to work with him and stuff. And like I've actually he's coached, like both Dave and Cody have helped me in the past back during my competition days. And like I just remember Cody, like he would just tear me apart. He's smaller than me too.
Yeah.
You know, and I identify as a wrestler, and he would just be whooping my ass. I remember one time he like probably took me down like 27 times. I even remember the spot on the mat because I made mention of it. I was like, it was right here. Took me down like 27 times in one practice. And then like I just like had enough, and I'm like I'm going, and I had the sickest setup, and I blast a double on him, and I'm running it through, and like right at the end he like defends, gets his hips out or whatever, and he's like, oh, that was a good one, and I was like, man, fuck you, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, dude. He's super nice too, so it's like even worse. Mad about it. It's like even worse. It's like, dude, I hate you. Ugh. So we're learning from them, and it was just so great. It was my favorite practice because, like, as a coach, you can probably relate to this. Whenever you're teaching something, and then somebody who you respect, and view as like an authority, says the same thing, you're like validated.
Yep.
Right. So we're out there, and like Dave and Cody, they're like saying these things about the way that your level needs to be when you're shooting your open shots for MMA, like stuff about like how you're going to handle dealing with the leg when you're shooting these open shots. And then I'm just looking at the guys, and I'm like, yeah, you hear that? Like, yeah, nothing new, right? Like, told you guys, right? Boom, we take it to the wall, dude. They just do it. They showed our system, right? Double leg. Oh, reaction A happens. Chase the back, reaction B happens, single leg, and then it got into stuff that I needed to learn.
Oh, that's so sick.
Yeah, it was like the best of both worlds, right? Like
reinforcement of what
reinforcement. I got validated, right? It was awesome. Got validated. Reinforcement, not only to like first off validation to myself, like okay, like I'm thinking about these things right, and like I know what I'm talking about, right? Because sometimes you might second guess yourself.
Right.
Validation to my fighters, like okay, my coach.
Yeah, knows what he's talking about.
Seems to know what he's talking about, right? And then additional learning.
Yeah.
Improvement in learning. So like everything I could have asked for it. And like I didn't expect anything less going there. I just love it there. It's my favorite place to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a
You've
good
spoken
time.
very highly of the Edge.
Yeah.
I didn't hop into practice when I went there with Warren in 2019 because I don't have a whole lot to offer Damian Maya on the ground, you know what I mean?
Right.
But
Well, the Edge, also to give it some context, is also the New York City Regional Training Center, which is like, so what the regional training centers are is they're like the club system for senior level wrestling, right? So if you're trying to like make the world an Olympic team, right, you train at a regional training center, right? So the one for the New York City area is at the Edge, New York City RTC. Notable people who train there. Frank Chamizo, he wrestles for Italy. He's a 2-time world champion.
I thought he was Cuban.
He is Cuban, defective.
Oh, he's the okay. I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So he trains there. I've seen Amit Allure, who is Mika Galval's girlfriend. But Amit Allure is like, she's like 19 and she's already like a 6-time world champ. Like she couldn't do the Olympic trials in 2021 because she was one day too young. Yeah, our birthday's December 31st.
That's a
and
bummer.
and it goes by your birth year. So if she was born one day later, she would have had a different birth year type of thing. But she's like just been utterly dominant. Like she's, so by 6 world championships, it might even be more, it might be 8, right? But like, so what I mean by that is like, so she's also eligible for age group world championships. So like she might win a junior world title, which is U20, and then a U23 title, which is obviously U23, and then a senior level title, which is like the real deal, right? And I believe one year she won the cadets, the juniors, and the U23, and then the next year she was no longer cadet eligible, which is U17. So she must have turned 18, and then the next year she won juniors, U23s, and seniors, and I believe she did that again this year.
So what you're saying is she's pretty good.
Dude, yeah, really good. But like they all train there, so it's just like it's a really unique and great place.
Yeah.
And a cool city. I like Hoboken.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about one of the things that a lot of people like about New York City is like the skyline. Looks pretty, right? Looks pretty. Well, guess what? If you're there, you can't see it.
You're in the middle of it. Yeah.
Yeah, cross that river to Hoboken, look over at it. Yeah, that's where you want to be. Yeah, so it was cool. We had a good time there.
Dude, that's so cool.
That was Monday night. Also, just for some side happenings, we're testing our athleticism. Right? And like there's a basketball court in there. So Vermon's like jumping up and he's touching the rim. And I'm like, all right, let's see, who can jump or whatever. Only one other person could get the rim.
Who might that person have been?
That was me. That was me, dog. The young kids there, they were like, yo, he got bunnies, no cap.
We're getting old, dude.
Yeah, no, they didn't really say that. I just heard that off the internet. All right, cool. So that was Monday night. Tuesday morning, we go to Nick Catone's gym and we're gonna spar. Right? Frankie Edgar's there. He's kind of sparring lighter, but there's a couple guys there that Vermon's sparring. Rodriguez is sparring, or Ramirez is sparring. And Lucas is sparring. Brittany, unfortunately, had rolled her ankle Monday night at the Edge, so she's taped that sucker up tight. So she's sparring too, but there weren't like any girls there, so she's just sparring like the guys. So she's kind of like being a little more flowy. Nick Catone's gym is the best gym in the world.
Dude, I saw the videos of it. I was like, this facility is incredible.
Like, dude, like I am really proud of our facilities. Like, like we have big mat space. We have multiple mat spaces. We have a weight room, which take it or leave it. Not like, you know what I mean? I like weight room, but I just like, like sometimes I'm like, man, we should just put mats back here instead. But whatever. Dude, his place is it's a whole strip mall, and then there's only like 2 other storefronts. He owns the strip mall.
The whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, he owns the strip mall. Dude, it's beautiful. You walk in there, the first thing I want to be like is like, how on earth do you keep it this clean? Right?
Yeah,
like,
big facilities hard to keep clean.
Like I'm like, dude, it was like immaculate. And I'm like, how? Like it's like as if no one ever walked in there before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is amazing. It's beautiful. There's a full weight room that looks kind of like an LA Fitness type deal. Treadmills, ellipticals, bikes, all like different machines, and then racks and stuff just like open. There's a room in the back for like like classes, like I'd
Right.
imagine like
Like a Zumba class.
yeah,
deal,
stuff like
yoga,
that.
stuff
Dude,
like that.
their locker rooms are like commercial gym-esque.
Yeah.
Like lockers, all like just I'm just like, dude, it's phenomenal. And then their mat space. They have one really big mat area. Then they have another mat area that's fairly big. So
Yeah.
two separate mat areas, and the one is big. The one's
Yeah.
like comparable to ours.
Yeah.
Right? We have that big mat room. Their big mat room, same.
Yeah.
Got to be like close to the same, right? Then they have a second mat room that is not that much smaller. Then they have a third mat room which has like a bag forest
Right.
around it, right? And then they have two huge cages. Like these
Yeah.
cages, like you could throw a kids class in those cages.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure you could do a kids class in those cages.
New line size.
Yeah. And then they had like a full-size boxing ring too.
That's incredible.
And I'm just like, dude, this place was amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, give me this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really, they had a great gear shop. They had like a smoothie bar area. It wasn't like running. I don't know if they probably like maybe only run it at certain hours.
Right. That makes sense.
It doesn't make sense to run it during like fight team time where
Yeah.
it's just
There's like 5 of you.
yeah. But that was really great training, and some really important stuff came of it. It was just like making connections, right?
Yep.
So like right now, like Farmon's still there.
Yeah.
He's still there. He's at Nick Catone's. He's just there. So Nick Catone's and Ricardo's. So Nick Catone is a Ricardo Almeida black belt.
Right.
So like they just like
Yeah.
it's like Monday at Ricardo's, Tuesday at Catone's, Wednesday I don't know the schedule.
And they
But you're
both
getting
come
it.
from the Henzo lineage.
Yeah, Ricardo, from my understanding, was like Henzo's like main guy over here, like his like first main guy
Right.
over here. So yeah, they come from that lineage. Because I remember whenever I was coming up, going to Henzo's and like Frankie would be there. I'd like they'd have coned off areas and it'd be like, oh, like George St. Pierre's in there, Frankie's in there, and like so forth. And I'm probably forgetting some names. Maybe Matt Serra or something. But like I'm probably forgetting some names. But Chris Weidman.
Yeah.
But like just like the stars of that era, and so it's like all like off of that lineage, which is cool. Like
Super
establishing these connections, reestablishing, and that was one of the goals of the trip, was to reestablish the connections, because I felt like since I retired from MMA, and I quit making those trips out there, that like and then I started like focusing more on jiu-jitsu, so I started making those trips for jiu-jitsu,
Right.
and it's like different groups.
Absolutely.
So like kind of getting back into that, which was really good. And Ryan Cafaro is a really good pro fighter in his own right, but he's also a really good coach, and he coaches a lot of like good UFC fighters. Like I've seen him padding up like Frank Yeager, Edson Barboza back in the day, Marlon Reich, a lot of those guys. I think he like must be like in some type of friendly thing with Mark Henry, maybe works with Mark Henry. Like maybe Mark Henry's one, I'm not sure, one of his coaches potentially. But he's working with Caitlin Chukagian. So he hits me up after he moved around with Britt. He hits me up that night. He's like, hey, can Britt come back out this weekend and spar Caitlin Chukagian? I'm like, where and when?
Yeah.
Where and when? I'm making it happen. Where and when? So like right there, the value of the connection.
Absolutely.
So Britt went out there this past weekend. She got to work out with Caitlin Chukagian, which only good things can come from that.
Absolutely.
And she told me that everybody was just like so welcoming, and she had such a great experience.
And I was gonna say, because we talked with Brittany about that the other day, and like we've been really lucky in that like a lot of the people that have worked with us have been really cool, because like I have seen other experiences where like a pro will bring in an amateur to spar with and just use it as a moving punching bag. You know what I mean? But like, and I mentioned this to like when we went out to Strong Style. Brittany was training with Jessica I for a while, as a training partner, and I was like, hey, I really appreciate you being so cool and like not just like beating up an amateur. And she's like, oh yeah, like of course I would never do that, and like legitimately just like being cool and like in helping Brittany's development. And from everything that she said about Caitlin, it's the same thing. Like, that's so cool to see, is to see these established high level pros really pulling the next level up with them, and like I love that.
Well, I mean, like I think one of the things is Brittany's providing value too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So there's that. So it's like you got to appreciate the value, but but like they're still just like very kind. Which is
that
like,
was what you told me, is you said that she was the nicest person to you.
Yeah. So when I went out there, this is like 2014, I would say. I went in without like any connect. Like I didn't like. I had no one that called again. I was like, hey, I'm going to be in town. Is it okay if I train? I found out what the schedule was, and I showed up.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I'm from Pittsburgh. we're a Team Henzo Gracie team. I'm going to be in town training with you guys. And they're like, all right, cool. And like, you know, like, it's just like, man, who is this guy type of thing. And she was very nice to me. You know what I mean? Like, she was like the only person like not that everybody else, but they just needed to like warm up to me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Everyone else was regular. She was exceptionally nice.
Yeah, she was really nice. And I remember being like, wow. I was like, she's very nice. And then I was like, I'm going to like follow her. I'm going to pay, like, you know, like that like makes me want to be a fan. That makes you like someone. Yeah, exactly. Right? So I was like, oh, I like her. I'm going to follow her. So I follow her. I watch her fight in like CFFC and stuff, and then in the UFC. And like I've often told Brittany, I'm like, you need to like watch her. Like, dude, this is like how you should probably like approach things. Like, just like watch her tape and stuff. And yeah, so like it's just so cool that connection happened because I was already a fan of her, and like due to her being so kind. Yeah, you know. Yeah. So yeah,
and being a good fighter. Yeah,
On top of it. Go figure. Yeah, that definitely helps. So there's that. Yeah, so we had a really good time at Nick Catone's. What did we do Tuesday night? Tuesday night was bowling night because they were sparring back-to-back days. Tuesday morning was sparring at Catone's, and then Wednesday morning was sparring at Marquez MMA. So it's like, yeah, you're gonna be thrown down 2 days.
Chill a little bit.
Yeah, and the sparring was like, when you go out of town and you spar like someone you don't normally spar with, it's a little more fight-like. Yes. You know? And they're sparring at Catone's. They were sparring in the cage. Like, dude, stranger in the cage. It's an elevated cage. Like, it gives you that real feel. Yeah. Yeah, so then we did bowling night, all 6 of us. Had a good time.
How'd you do bowling?
Yeah, so I took first place. Second place, you know, was right behind me, only 100 pins behind. Yeah, I dominated. I basically put the clutch gene on, and I just destroyed everyone. And everybody thought they were going to do good, too. But they didn't, and I did really good. I bowled my two lifetime highs back to back. Yeah, I feel like someone was like, man, you're really good. And I was like, you know how I would play it? I'd be like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this is normal.
Dude, yeah. And then I broke, and I was like, dude, I've never bowled this in my life. I was like, I bowled. Like I bowl probably like once a year, and I really enjoy it. It's fun. But like I've never done this. Yeah. This is not like normal. I'm on one right now. And then we finished up the trip sparring at Marquez MMA Deep Room. I counted 9 current or former UFC fighters, and I say current and former because Corey Anderson was there. Corey Anderson, he was an Ultimate Fighter winner. He was like ranked number 2 at 205 in the UFC at one point.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Corey, it used to be Beast in 247 or 25-8 or something like that.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was mixing him up with something. I want to say Corey Hill, the guy who broke his leg.
Oh yeah. That was Corey Hill. He fought Calderon right before I fought. Exactly. Calderon beat him, and then I fought Calderon next fight. Yeah. That's why if I do my like 6 degrees of separation, I've got a common opponent with, or I can match to BJ Penn.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I'm like, well, I fought Calderon, who fought Corey Hill, who fought Gray Maynard, who fought Frankie Edgar, who fought BJ Penn. Yeah. So I can like get to it. Yeah.
That's cool.
Boom. Yeah, so good time bowling. Where were we at? Oh,
you were talking about Marquez.
Yeah, Corey Anderson was there. So Corey Anderson, he just fought for the Bellator title twice. He won it the first time, but like I think something weird happened where it was like, the fight couldn't continue because of like a cut or something. And Corey Anderson, from my recollection, was like really cool about it. He was like, I'm not the champ. Like, he's like, I'm not the champ. We have to run it back. Like, that's not how I want to win. And I think he lost on the rematch. Man, I hope I'm right. Because I
remember this fight's happening, but I can't help you out. I don't remember any of the results.
But regardless, he's like, you know, he was top 3 UFC light heavyweight and like, you know, top Bellator light heavyweight. So super good. He was there sparring Joey Pfeiffer, who's main eventing the UFC on the 10th, February 10th, I believe. It's either the 3rd or the 10th.
Yeah, I want to say it's the 10th. I think so.
Might be the 3rd. I don't know. Whatever. He's main eventing soon. Andre Berskin was there. Sean Brady, Jonathan Webb, Pat. Wow, Pat. What's Pat's last name? Sabatini. Oh my God, the dude, he knocks a bunch of people out. He was CFFC champ. Wow. 170.
Jeremiah?
Yeah. Jeremiah Wells. So like, yeah, there was just like a ton of. Oh, and the Dawkins brothers were there. The one was training, the one wasn't. The heavyweight one was just watching, and the middleweight one was training.
That's cool.
I get which one are they, like the names. Chris is one, and yeah. But whatever. So like such a deep room. There were like 40 people sparring in there, like a bunch of dudes. Like I was talking to John Marquez. He was talking to Warren and I, and he was like, "Yeah, that dude right there. He's 78-5 in kickboxing. Like some like didn't speak English, like like Russian style dude, right?" And he's like, "This dude is a pro MMA fighter. He's 38-8." But people you don't know them yet,
Right? Yeah.
type of thing.
But
So
they
it's like
racked up some records.
Yeah, and dude, that sparring was hard. That was big love sparring, and it was cracking in there. Yeah, and then that was it. That was our trip.
And then back home.
Yeah, then we Farman took one of the cars back out Jersey because he's staying out there training at Catone's and Ricardo's, bouncing back and forth between there. The rest of us hopped in the other one, came back to our house.
Warren went straight to the gym too, because I remember I was walking out
came
to
in.
go
We
teach
got
my
there.
class.
We got there. He was like, "I'm gonna go check out the gym." I was like, "I'm gonna go home and relieve my wife from my crazy kids."
Well, I walk out, I see Warren standing there, and I was like, "Dude, I thought you were still in New York." He's like, "Nah, we just got back." I was like just now? He's like, "Yeah, like just now." I was like,
"Oh yeah, we
back.
we were in the alley and just taking the bags out of the back and throwing them into our cars." And then I was like, "All right, dude,
out,
gotta go." GTG. Yeah, but a great trip. Great trip.
Yeah.
Great training.
Great connections.
Got validated on some things. We learned some things. We got some good sparring, different looks, made connections that are sticking. So like future resources.
Helped to unify our team,
Yeah, we all did really well together too. Like everybody got along. We had no issues. Like nobody butted heads or anything. And we talked about that while we were there. Like, oh man, like it's sometimes like, you can be friends with them, but you don't travel well with everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
We traveled well. And I think one of the big things is like what I told them, because I want to make sure it sticks like that. I was like, no one made anybody feel like they had to do something.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, we're going to dinner and like we all have to go together. No, dude, we can split up.
Yeah.
Right? There was a night where like Lucas, Brittany, and I went to one restaurant while Warren, Farman, and Ramirez went to another. Right? You know what I mean? There were nights where like we all went, but Farman stayed back.
Right,
He
exactly.
wanted to like rest or something.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And like
everyone was just like cool.
everyone was just cool
it.
doing your own thing.
That's so awesome.
Like, you know what I mean? Like if like you could do it together or you could do it separate. No one had to we didn't have to like, the only things we had to do together was
train.
You got to train.
Yeah.
That's what you're here for, But that's it. Great times.
Dude, so good to hear that. So glad that the team got that experience, and and for you to have that experience, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and like we got these connections in, right? So like like we reestablished, like we had them. Like I said,
Yeah.
everywhere we were, I trained before. Except
Yeah.
that was my first time at Nick Catone's. That was my first time, and like what a facility. Nick was there because he was runs the practice and stuff. So Nick, he wrestled at Rutgers. He was a Ricardo made a black belt, and he was a UFC fighter, right? Actually, while we were there, he was like, "Man, it's a trip. It's like 10 years ago next week since my last UFC fight." And I was like, "Damn!" I was like, "That is wild, dude."
Time flies.
Yeah, and he's like, "Shh," and stuff. Dude, super cool. Like they're just so cool. Yeah, so I'm really glad about that, and like looking forward to like continuing to go out there, bringing some of the other fighters out as like people progress, and stuff to get other looks, yeah,
dude, awesome stuff.
A lot of benefits. Very happy about it.
Right on.
Yep. So that's all I got for that trip.
Beautiful. Well,
right on.
Dude, we've recorded a nice long pod here on
how long do you think
current
that was?
events. I don't know.
6 hours and 42 minutes.
At least.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap that up. Puts a bow on that one. And we will see you next time. Thank you for listening to your coaches.